Have you ever heard of the most justified execution of Hitler's general? In March of 1944, 15 American soldiers were captured by German soldiers and taken to the German 135th Brigade headquarters in La Spezia, Italy, where they were interrogated and then executed without a trial or hearing. This was in direct violation of the Geneva Convention of 1929. But was this execution justified? In this video, we'll explore the events that led to the execution of these soldiers, the role of General Anton Dostler in the execution, and the aftermath of the incident. So, stay tuned until the end to find out whether this execution was justified or not. Born in Munich, Germany on May 10, 1891, Anton Dostler served as a junior officer during World War I, before becoming the first ordnance officer in the new Reich's army at the outset of World War II. He eventually rose to the rank of General Major and was appointed Chief of Staff of the 7th Army under the command of General Friedrich Dollmann, before leading both the 57th and 163rd Infantry Divisions. Later, Dostler was given command of the 75th Army Corps in Italy and appointed commander of the Venetian coast, where Allied bombers attempted to destroy a critical rail line in a bid to cut off supply routes to German forces in central Italy. However, their efforts failed, and on March 22, 1944, a group of 15 American soldiers, including 2 officers, dressed in U.S. Army field uniforms, landed on the Italian coast as part of Operation Guinea II, with the aim of destroying a tunnel to cut off line of communication to the German forces. The soldiers were captured 2 days later on March 24th by Italian fascist militiamen and German soldiers, and taken to the German 135th Brigade headquarters in La Spezia, which was under the command of Colonel Ulmer, with Dostler as his superior. During their interrogation, one of the U.S. officers revealed that they were part of a commando raid to blow up the tunnels. First Lieutenant Vincent Rousseau was deceived by his interrogators into disclosing information about the American operation, as they falsely claimed that one of his men had already done so. Unfortunately, Rousseau realized too late that he had been tricked, and the information was subsequently transmitted to Dostler. On March 25th, the 135th Brigade received a telegram directing them to execute the captured American commando group, with Dostler having signed the order. This was in line with Hitler's secret commando order of 1942, which stipulated that Allied commandos should be killed immediately without trial. Phil Marshal Kessler Ring, Dostler's superior, was responsible for implementing this order, and he instructed Donald Ulmer, Claps, and Sessla to carry out the execution. The order to kill American prisoners of war shocked these individuals, with Ulmer appealing to Dostler to reconsider or suspend the order. However, Dostler responded with another telegram instructing Ulmer to proceed with the execution as previously ordered. The German officers of the 135th Spring Gate made 2 unsuccessful attempts to persuade Dostler to stop the execution, knowing that it was a direct violation of the Geneva Convention of 1929 to execute uniformed prisoners of war. On the morning of March 26, 1944, a tragic event unfolded when 15 American soldiers were executed by firing squad without a trial or hearing. Their lifeless bodies were interred in a mass grave. However, the tide of World War II began to turn in favor of the Allies by early 1945, and Nazi Germany was on the verge of defeat. On April 13, 1945, Adolf Hitler, the infamous dictator who caused widespread destruction and death, took his own life by shooting himself in the head. Following Hitler's suicide, Admiral Karl Dönitz assumed power as the head of the state. In May of 1945, Dönitz made his escape to the town of Flensburg, which is situated close to the Danish border. It was there that he established a government that would go on to become the subsequent and final one for the Third Reich. Dönitz shared Hitler's goal of driving a wedge between the Western Allies and the Soviet Union. He hoped to achieve this goal. He He was of the opinion that the United States and Britain might side with Germany in the conflict against the Soviet Red Army if they were able to establish some distance between themselves and the Soviet Union. This was the last card that Germany could play in their hand. The unconditional surrender of German forces was demanded on all fronts, and General Alfred Jodl was displaced by Dönitz to respond to this demand. The surrender of German troops took place in stages across Europe. In Reims, France, May 7, 1945, German forces at long last capitulated to the Western Allies, marking the official conclusion of World War II on the European continent. Despite this, the war did not end in the Pacific Theater until the 15th of August in 1945. On May 8, 1945, following the Allied victory over Nazi Germany, Dostler was captured by the United States Army and held as a prisoner of war. After that, he was taken in front of a United States military tribunal and accused of committing war crimes by carrying out an illegal order. The argument that Dostler put forward in defense of himself was that he had not personally given the order to Colonel Olmers, but rather had merely relayed it to Olmers from his superior, Field Marshal Kessler Ring. He argued that his oath of allegiance to Adolf Hitler required him to obey orders, and that he had no choice but to order the execution, because they had been caught while carrying out a commando raid. In addition, he claimed that he was required to obey orders because he was a member of the Nazi Party. Dostler was found guilty of war crimes on October 12, 1945, following a trial that lasted for 4 days. The defense that he had been following superior orders was not accepted by the court. He was given a sentence of death, and on December 1, 1945 at 8 in the morning, the officer in charge read the charge and the sentence out loud, before being escorted to the post by 3 soldiers, with his arms tied behind his back. Dostler was given permission to spend a brief moment speaking with Roman Catholic priests. After that, a medical officer put a black hood over Dostler's head and attached a target that was 4 inches wide and placed it over his heart. After taking their positions 50 feet away from Dostler, the 12 marksman firing party waited for the officer in charge to give the order to fire before beginning their assault. Dostler was put to death by a firing squad on December 1, 1945, when he was 54 years old. He was laid to rest in the war cemetery of Spezia, which is located in Italy. While the rest of the Nazi war criminals were hanged, he and other Nazi war criminals were executed by being shot to death with musketry. Kurt Brands, the second German to go up against an international team, was also found guilty of ordering the execution of American soldiers who were being held as prisoners of war. During his own trial in Venice in 1947, German Field Marshal Albert Kesselring, who was Dostler's superior commander and almost certainly knew about the decision to execute the American prisoners and likely approved the killings, denied his involvement in the killings. Dostler was Dostler's superior commander. Although the 1907 Hague Convention on the Land Warfare allowed for the execution of spies and saboteurs dressed in civilian clothes or enemy uniforms, it did not permit the execution of those captured in their own military uniforms, who should be treated as prisoners of war instead. Instead, these individuals were to be treated as captives of war. Even though Dostler tried to defend himself by saying that he was only doing what he was told, his actions were still considered war crimes, and he was held accountable for them. As we come to the end of this video, it's important to reflect on the events that took place during World War II and the devastating consequences of blind obedience to authority. The execution of 15 American soldiers by General Anton Dostler serves as a stark reminder of the atrocities committed during this dark period in human history. As we move forward, it's crucial to learn from the mistakes of the past and work towards a brighter, more peaceful future. Let's strive to build a world where human rights and justice are respected and upheld, and where the atrocities of the past are never repeated. If you found this video informative, please consider sharing it with others and subscribing to our channel for more thought-provoking content.